Level 1. Overdrawn. Your account is negative, maybe by $12, maybe by $380. The number is almost beside the point because the mechanism that responds to it does not scale with severity. It simply activates. Australian banks charge dishonor fees per failed transaction. Some accounts carry overdrawn fees on top. The amounts are smaller than their American equivalents, but the logic is identical. Because you do not have money, you now have less of it. Your card declines at the Woolworths self-checkout. You try again. It declines again. There is a queue forming and you are doing mental arithmetic you cannot finish fast enough. This is what financial stress actually looks like, not dramatic. Just a card declining while someone behind you sighs. At this level, you are not a customer in any meaningful sense. You are a cost center the bank is attempting to recover. The system that assessed the fee does not know your name, does not know your paycheck was delayed, does not know the charge that pushed you negative was a forgotten subscription. It knows one thing: the balance is negative. Everything else follows from that. Level 2, low balance. You have pulled back from the edge. There is $300 in the account, sometimes $500, before rent disappears and it drops again. The monthly account keeping fee arrives if your balance or deposit activity does not meet the waiver threshold. If you had the minimum sitting untouched, the fee would vanish. Because you do not, it stays quietly withdrawn every month from an account that was supposed to be holding your money. The savings rate is, in real terms, almost nothing. The bonus rate requires conditions. Miss them and you earn the base rate, which makes the word interest feel generous. You apply for a credit card. If approved, the limit is modest and the rate sits between 19 and 22%, where most Australian credit cards live regardless of issuer. The service is not unkind, but there is no relationship here. There is a transaction. You need basic banking services and they provide them. That is the entirety of it. Level 3, stable income and direct deposit. Your salary hits the account every fortnight. The bank's systems notice this algorithmically. The profile shifts from irregular and low to consistent and moderate, and the product offers begin to change. Better credit card offers arrive. Velocity points, Qantas points, cashback. The account keeping fees disappear because your salary deposit meets the waiver threshold. A personal loan application is approved within a day through the app. For many Australians, this is the first time the banking system has functioned the way they always understood it was supposed to. It is a significant moment, even if the bank registers it as a routine approval. You are a customer now, recognized, serviceable, generating revenue. You matter to the institution the way any revenue-generating customer matters, functionally and without sentiment. Level 4, growing savings. The savings account has $25,000. The investment account has another $15,000 in ETFs. The credit card is paid in full monthly, making the interest rate irrelevant to your life. Credit limit increases start happening without requests when you call to negotiate your mortgage rate. And in Australia, calling to negotiate is both normal and effective. Someone takes it seriously and comes back with something. Loan rates improve. The gap between the advertised rate and what you actually receive narrows because your financial behavior has shifted the bank's risk calculation in your favor. The price of money is lower for you now. More of it stays in your hands. The compounding begins at the level of basis points before it begins at the level of assets. Level 5, 6-figure savings and a mortgage. Your combined assets are pushing past $200,000. Phone wait times are shorter. The person who answers has more authority. When something goes wrong, resolution comes in the same call rather than requiring callbacks and escalation. A mortgage offset account is now doing meaningful work. At a 6% variable rate, $50,000 sitting in offset saves $3,000 in interest annually, guaranteed and tax-free. The bank does not advertise this as aggressively as it could, for obvious reasons. Some banks at this level assign a personal banker, a named contact, rather than a generic service queue. They are attentive in the way that someone whose performance depends partly on retaining your business is attentive. Understanding the commercial motivation does not make the access less real. Level 6, high net worth, around $500,000 to $2 million. At this level, the bank stops being somewhere you go and becomes something that comes to you. Private wealth divisions at the major banks, Combank Private, ANZ Private, NAB Private, Westpac Private, operate differently to their retail counterparts. Cross the asset threshold and the product suite, service model, and the people involved all change. Mortgage rates become genuinely negotiable. The published rate is a starting point. For a borrower at this profile, the bank will move because losing the relationship to a competitor costs more than the margin being surrendered. Investment opportunities requiring wholesale investor status under Australian financial services law open up private credit, property syndicates, infrastructure deals, funds with minimums that exclude retail participation entirely. The conversations change texture. Someone is building a picture of your full financial life, not out of curiosity, but because the fuller the picture, the more of your financial activity they can capture. Level 7. Very high net worth, above $5 million. The products available at this level are not on the website. The mortgage rate is not the rate anyone else receives. It is negotiated between a banker with real authority and a client whose business the institution actively wants. The spread between this rate and what a level 3 customer pays, compounded over 30 years, amounts to a number worth taking seriously. A specialist team is involved, someone for investments, someone for tax strategy, someone for estate and succession planning. They coordinate, they communicate. The left hand and the right hand know what the other is doing, which at lower levels of the system cannot be assumed. Level 8, ultra wealthy. Private banking. Genuine private banking in Australia typically begins above $5 million in investable assets. At this level, you do not have a banker, you have a private banker, someone managing a small portfolio of relationships whose professional focus is entirely on those relationships. The deals here are not drawn from a product menu. They are constructed. Loan rates are negotiated outcomes. Investment minimums are waived because the relationship justifies it. Documentation that would take a retail customer weeks is handled internally because the right people have been told whose account this is. The system that was automated and indifferent at level 1 is now human, attentive, and structurally oriented toward yes. Fees that technically apply are waived before you ask. Exceptions requiring approval are approved before the formal process begins. The friction that defines banking for most Australians has been removed entirely. You are not a customer at this level. You are a relationship, a named relationship tracked in someone's performance metrics. Losing you would register not as a statistic, but as a conversation between senior people about what went wrong. The Australian banking system will tell you it treats everyone fairly. What it will not tell you is that fairness and equality are different things. The structure rewards the accumulation of assets with better rates, better access, and better terms. That structure is legal, logical from a risk management perspective, and almost completely invisible to anyone living inside the lower levels of it. The most useful thing to understand is not that the system is unfair, it is that it is predictable. Move from level 2 to level 4 and the treatment changes. Move from level 4 to level 6 and it changes again. The bank is not making moral judgments. It is responding to data, which means the most powerful thing you can do inside this system is change your data, build the savings, pay the card in full, invest consistently, negotiate the rate. The bank will notice. It always does. If this gave you a clearer picture of how the system actually works, hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.